So who's talking tonight about credit cards?
I don't know anything about it.
Really? Who's your for?
Wife asked me to be here.
Huh.
He just texted me, goes, are you going to be here on the phone? I'm like, here.
Interesting.
I don't think Susan knows I'm going to be here.
So who the hell will talk about it? It's not you and not Susan.
I have no, I mean, I guess we're here to talk about it.
Maybe Mike?
We don't know what we're talking about. I guess we'll answer questions. I don't think I've been to a Levy Court since Joanne's been here. I don't know where she sits.
They had her sitting on the outside. And she's neither, I think Derek or Alan coach her.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta coach her, you gotta help her.
Yeah, especially on the outside.
How can you do it? Move her down next to me.
So I haven't been here since you started. I didn't know where you sat. They got you on the outside. So I guess we're on the agenda early.
Yeah. Yeah, under committee.
It was the last minute. It was put on a couple days ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, who asked for it? Alan, I'll bet. Did Alan ask for it? Interesting. It's well done, huh?
Yeah. You got many people on the phone tonight?
Thanks, buddy.
Just a reason. You're not worthy for this. I'll try not to drink it all. So you filling in tonight?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just running windows and stuff.
Oh,
There
okay.
was something people.
She's having a procedure.
We did it backwards. We did the Mississippi first. Yeah, usually it's the other way around. Like the Scott's insurance, the chemotherapy center strength.
We'll call Tuesday, February 9th, 2021's Kent County Levy Court combined business and committee meetings to order. We're in the Levy Court chambers, room 203, Kent County Levy Court Complex. Turn it over to County Administrator to tell us what the rules of the meeting are.
Thank you, Mr. President. And before we begin the meeting, just want to state that this meeting is being recorded. We have invited the public to join this meeting via the teleconference line. And this being a public meeting, we have opportunity throughout the meeting at various points for public comment, and anyone who may be joining us via the conference line will have an opportunity to speak at those appropriate times during the agenda. And we will make invitation for public comment and some instruction on how to join the meeting. Otherwise, we're going to be keeping our callers on mute through the meeting. And at the appropriate time, we'll have you on your device press *1, and that brings you into the meeting room. This proceeding is an official meeting of Levy Court. All rules of procedure adopted by Levy Court for business meetings and committee meetings are in effect, and also the Mason's Rules of Order are in effect as well. Mr. President, I'll turn the floor back to you to begin the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have the invocation by Commissioner Howe, the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Buxton, and moment of silence for our troops and first responders by Commissioner Sweeney. All rise.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity tonight to conduct business for the county. We recognize your presence and ask you to guide us in all of our proceedings. We also pray about the COVID pandemic. Lord, we ask you to bring it to a close so that we can go back to normality. And we thank you for all the many blessings you've given us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence to honor our military members, law enforcement officers, firefighters, paramedics, and other first responders who have lost their lives in the line of duty protecting and fighting for our freedoms. In addition to those listed here, we also honor those law enforcement, firefighters, EMTs, nurses, and doctors who have succumbed to COVID-19 virus complications contracted through close interaction with infected patients, losing their lives caring for others. As of today, more than 463,000 Americans nationwide, 1,049 in Delaware, and 255 in Kent County have lost their lives to COVID. Please remember these individuals and their families in your thoughts and prayers as they deal with the loss of their loved ones. Lieutenant Michael Bout, Hancock County Sheriff's Office, Mississippi. Special Agent Laura Ann Schwarzenberger, FBI. Special Agent Daniel Alphen, FBI. Patrolman Darian Jarrett, New Mexico State Police, New Mexico. Chief Engineer Edward Bookmeyer, Crayley Fire Department, York County, PA. And two gentlemen who lost their lives in a collapsed roof in a fire in Waynoka, Oklahoma. Fire Chief Lonnie Bolar and firefighter Taylor Bradford. Thank you.
Ms. Tanaka, can we have a roll call, please, to determine quorum?
Mr. Angel?
Present.
Mr. Buxton?
Present.
Mr. Hall?
Present.
Mr. Howell?
Here.
Mrs. Maston?
Present.
Mr. Sweeney?
Here.
Mr. Pepper?
Here.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 present.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. Need a motion on adoption of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Hall, second by Commissioner Maston. Can I have a roll call, please, Ms. Tanaka?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. The agenda has been adopted. Need approval of Levy Court business meeting minutes of Tuesday, January 26, 2021.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Sweeney, second by Commissioner Angel. Can I have a roll call, please, Ms. Tanaka?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. The minutes of Tuesday, January 26, 2021 have been approved. And I understand we have no introductions this evening. That'll take us right into our public hearing. And open the public hearing. Turn over to Mrs. Maston.
Okay, this evening we have on the agenda a public hearing for ordinance LC 21-02, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of a Kent County general obligation bond in an amount not to exceed $1,640,000 for the plant-wide power backup project and authorizing all necessary actions in connections therewith.
Any commissioner questions before we open the public hearing?
Mr. President, I think Mr. Pettimaj has something, sir.
Mr. Pettimaj.
Yeah, before we open the public hearing, just on behalf of Public Works Director Diana Gold, I just wanted to give you a very brief statement about this project. This bond issue ordinance was prepared by bond counsel for your consideration. And this item, the backup power supply, has been reported to Levy Court in committee in January, and you all discussed that project. I think you're all fairly familiar with what it's intended to do. And it's related to a loan through the revolving loan fund program at the Department of Natural Resources. And the bond issue is essentially the county's guarantee on that loan, and it enables the loan to be let. And so on behalf of the Department of Public Works, we ask that Levy Court consider this favorably, and it'll enable the project to proceed. And at this point, if there aren't any further questions, I'll sit down and we'll open up the public hearing. Mr. President.
Thank you. Any questions before we proceed? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing, and we'll ask anyone in the audience is here that would like to speak in favor of this. Anyone in the audience in favor, please speak now. Mr. Pettimaj, anyone on the phone?
If we have any callers who wish to address Levy Court on this matter in favor, press star 1 on your device. You can be brought into the room. It appears we have no callers, Mr. President.
Thank you. At this time, anyone that is opposed to LC 21-02, anyone opposed, please come forward. Seeing no one, Mr. Pettimaj?
It, again, appears that we have no callers on the line and waiting, so I think at this point we're free to proceed.
Thank you. Seeing no one either on the audience or on the phone, we'll close the public hearing and ask for motion, please.
I'd like to have a motion to approve ordinance LC 21-02.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Masson, second by Commissioner Angel to approve ordinance LC 21-02. Give me a roll call, please, Ms. Tanaka.
Mr. Angel?
Yes,
Mr. Buck-
as stated.
Mr. Buxton, sorry.
Yes, no public opposition and reasons stated.
Mr. Hall?
Yes, for reasons stated.
Mr. Howell?
Yes, reason stated.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes, reason stated.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes, for all reasons stated.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes, for all reasons stated.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. We'll recess to committee meetings. The first meeting is the Finance Committee. Mrs. Masson, Chair. We'll turn it over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, the first item we have is for FY22 community service grants. Previously, we did a review of the open, or those that had requested grants, and we had one item where they had not replied but have since, and that is a community service grant application. I believe they requested $2,500, and what we're recommending is $2,000 to be granted to the community service group.
Any questions? Okay, what are you going to do with that, Mrs. Maston? You're going to move it forward to
Yes, I'd like to move this forward, please.
Mr. President, what we would like to hear is your consent to incorporate this into the draft budget that, with respect to the community service grants. So that amount of $2,000, if you all agree, we will go ahead and make that part of our proposal in the March book that comes out.
So we'll need a consent on that. All those in favor of doing that? 7
you.
up. Okay, we'll do what County Administrator requested. Next item, Mrs. Maston.
Okay, the next item on the list for committee consideration is the credit card payment processing. As I understand it, currently, we're working on getting credit card processing in place for taxes and for the sewer bills, since they are a large portion of what Kent County bills for. I also understand that next on the agenda would be credit card processing for permitting, as well as code enforcement actions. However, what I've since learned, there's also some items that potentially could be covered under credit cards, which would be any fees that are assessed by the Register of Wills and also the Register of Deeds. And there could be possibly be some other items that are maybe low-hanging fruit that could also be added into the credit card processing. And what I would like to ask is consideration for everything that we have here in the county to be considered to go through credit card processing payment by the end of 2021, December 31st of 2021.
Commissioner Madison? Yeah,
Yes?
because we're in committee, right? We're just sitting at a
we're
table right
committee,
now having
yeah.
a conversation, although this seems more formal. And so we're here to discuss this, and, I do try sometimes, but I get busy, hung up, and so I don't get a chance to make calls in advance to some of these meetings like tonight. And I feel like I might say some things, might say something that might upset somebody. Not intended to, but it is what it is. First question, if I just heard you correctly, is it your understanding, or Commissioner or Mr. Pettit-Demage's understanding then, that we wouldn't roll out credit cards until next year, December 21? Or would it be we would work on individual ones that at the end of the year would end up being every one we could do? Mm-hmm. And I see Ms. Dorm's coming down.
What we were hoping to do today is, tonight, is to kind of give you a snapshot of where we are now, what processes we currently have, what we're working on actively, and then what will be in the future. And some of the ones that Commissioner Maston mentioned aren't currently slated, but will be your direction. And so I've asked Susan Durham and Kim Crouch to be here tonight to have this conversation with us and give us an idea where we're at and where we're going with respect to credit cards. So Susan, you want to take it from there?
Okay, thank you. So to add to what Commissioner Maston said, or to bring it in line more, currently we do have credit cards for sewer and tax, and we're just 1 nanosecond away of having it for MGO for permitting. We went with our final test today, thought we were going to release it, and something happened, and so we hope to have that by tomorrow. Right. So we're that close. So then, but in the process, when I came to you a few months ago, and this is before you, we changed vendors because of a problem we were having with our current vendor that we currently use for tax and for sewer. And we went with Govolution or Velocity Payments. And so we focused all our time and energy with them for the MGO project, and kept the value payment systems for our tax and sewer so that we could get this MGO project going and have the credit cards for it. And because that was part of one of the main features that everybody wanted for that project. So we also always intended to add, after we got through that, the other departments. And it was a matter of how we were going to prioritize them. Well, right now, my next priority is going to have to be tax and sewer, to move them out of their current system. And that's our biggest ones, and that's the ones we're going to collect the most money on, and that's the ones that benefit the constituents the most. And we're going to move them into Govolutions because we're currently not getting satisfactory service. And last year, during tax season, we had a heck of a time. People couldn't make their phone calls to get in, and we had complaint after complaint. So our goal is to get them converted before the next tax season. And of course, sewer's 4 times a year. Tax season's the 1 time a year. After we do that, so we hope to have that, you know, as you know, everything got crazy because of COVID, so everything's behind. And after we get that done, and it'll go obviously faster than MGO, but after we get that done, then we were looking at adding the rest of the offices in Kent County that would need to have, that collect money, so that have a revenue source.
Is somebody else going to ask a question before I jump in? Maybe I learned from yours. It sounds stupid, so have at it.
Thanks, that sounds like a setup. Ms. Maston, I have a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Sweeney.
Thank you. So sewer and taxes on value payment, and we have to move them to Govolution because in the midst of doing the credit card processing, we went to a new vendor. MGO permitting is on the new vendor.
That is correct.
Okay, so when you say the next tax season, do you mean the next sewer tax season?
Well, before this summer, I need to get tax, we'll do tax and sewer together, actually.
Okay,
And we'll shift them over to the current vendor that we have now, Govolution, the current new vendor.
okay,
And
but the sewer we do sewer 4 times a year, so we're gonna go through at least one more sewer tax quarter before we get to before we get to the summer, when we're gonna
Correct.
put everything, okay.
what will happen is the sewer billing of March 15th will still be on the current one that's
Right.
on now. And then we hope for the June 15th one to be on the new one.
So is there a list somewhere of everything we take money for that we need to convert to allow credit card processing and we haven't done yet? Or is that the 3 ones that we're ever going to do is tax collection, sewer payments, and MGO permitting? What about code enforcement for?
That's
you know,
already taken care of.
So citations and stuff are already taken care of?
That's
They
already
could be
taken
collected.
care of.
Yeah, so
Parks and Rec has it, yes. They have their own
one.
credit card
Are
system.
they on Govolutions?
No,
They're on their own system.
yes.
Is there any reason why we have multiple systems? Parks and Rec chose that, and,
Well, Parks and Rec, when we first went with their system, it was kind of more what that vendor was
Right.
already tied into, and it made the smoothest transition. Would love to leave it, and that'll be a goal further down the road, to leave and come to this one.
but they have it now, so that's really, I mean, I'm
Correct.
talking about convenience for the residents that come in. So is there anything else that's fairly big that's going to be a problem for us moving forward to get what I thought was part of the whole MGO or MyGov project to get that done?
No, well, MGO covers the planning services, and then
Right.
it covered sewer permits. That's MGO. We still will get deeds. Now, deeds and Recorder Deeds Office and Register Wills Office currently have online file and serve for Register Wills, and then we have Simplifile and CDC for Deeds Office. But you can't walk into the building and use, those are subscription services. and
Online, right,
we have-
right.
Yeah. You can't walk into the building and use the credit card in either one of those offices. So that, those are also, as soon as I get tax and sewer, then they're on the list next.
Okay. So when they go, will both the coming into the building to work with deeds or wills be the same as if they're going to use the Simplify online? I mean, is it going to be consistent, or now we're going to have 4 different ways to collect
Well,
credit
the
card
Simplifile
payments?
is a whole different animal, and so is File and Serve.
Okay.
And
So
that's,
they have their own credit card processing system.
yes, and they're, like, File and Serve is required by the courts. So that
Okay.
Wills has to use that when you're doing stuff
So there's no
online.
real, there's no easy way to get all processing on one credit
No.
card vendor. No.
I mean, we're going to
That's
get
what
as many as we can.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, Commissioner Sweeney, to your point, the purpose of this being on here is to set an objective and a time frame that everything that we have in Kent County is on credit card processing payment. Because in talking to Mrs. Durham, it's clear that there's multiple systems that operate for various reasons, whether it's a court system or whether it's Parks and Rec. My emphasis is to try to get everything that we do on a credit card processing plan. And then I'm sure at some point in time, maybe down the road, maybe there's a way to get everything into a system. I sure don't have the expertise to make that call.
I don't
Commissioner
think we'll
Buxton?
ever be all on one system, and I don't think that's a goal that we even need to have, because there's different parameters for different things especially within the Recorded Deeds Office and within the Register of Wills that are set by the state and stuff, so.
Commissioner Buxton, did you still have a question?
No, just comment. Appreciate the conversation. The questions were answered. I made a comment early on about this sometimes certain things can be touchy, especially the way you ask them. I just want credit cards. I think that it's a necessary process that our government should provide. That's it. So glad to see we have a path forward.
Does any other commissioners have any questions? Vice President Angel?
Thank you, Ms. Masson. Susan, I've been trying to push this for years about getting us all on credit cards and the banking system and all that. So, and why is it we can't get one card used
One what?
on one system?
I mean, we're going to have most of them on one system.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
We're going to have most of them on one system.
We are.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's hard to hear you with your mask on. That's why I'm asking. So, okay, so as long as we can move forth, I'm fine. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mrs. Durham? Can I get an agreement to move this forward?
You're going to move it forward for the purposes of making a motion during our business meeting to put a time frame on this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's what we're doing. So that's something that could go consent agenda.
Well, the time frame's going to be a goal. I can't guarantee. It's certainly an achievable goal, but I mean, I can't,
So it's just be informational then. She just wanted to put a time frame on it, so. But this is just informational at this time then. This is just informational right now? Yes. Okay. All right, so that concludes yours. You need to see if there's any public comments.
We do have one person on the line, and perhaps they want to address this item or the other item regarding community service grants. Press *1 on your phone. We can bring you into the room. Doesn't appear that our one caller has a comment, Mr. President.
Does have a comment?
No comment.
No comment. Okay.
Back to you, Mr. President.
All right. Next item is Administration Committee. Mr. Angel, you have 2 items there.
Thank you, sir. EMS, Mr. Colin Faulkner, sir.
Thank you, Commissioners. We originally, in our budget planning for the next fiscal year, had asked for a logistics officer, another full-time equivalent, in addition to our current staff, because of the load that we've experienced over years of growth administratively. What we did not anticipate was the retirement of Lieutenant Mick, who retired a couple of weeks ago. So what we did was we reevaluated that position and elected to drop the request for a full-time equivalent in next year's budget, and then reclassify the EMS operations, Lieutenant Mick's position into an EMS operations officer. with really a litany of additional job responsibilities. The reason, and that's part of the reason for elevating that rank from lieutenant to captain. The responsibilities of the EMS operations officer would be commensurate on the administrative side with what Captain Tinger currently does for us in his end. So it would be a well-balanced EMS division by having a deputy chief in one branch that's an EMS operations officer, and another one that's the EMS administrative officer. It's not unlike the model used around the country for organizations as large as ours. And we're at the point now to where this position really needs to be redefined. This is a sentinel event for us. We didn't see it coming. We didn't anticipate that Lieutenant Mick would retire, but he did. So we're seizing the opportunity to get the right person now while the position is open and just reevaluate and redo his job description. So our request is to have this position reclassified as you have it in your package.
Any commissioners? Chief, this is mainly an administrative position, correct?
Correct.
Would that person, in case of, because they have to have all their certifications in line too, would they be able to be pulled for emergency purposes?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Commissioner Buxton.
Just for the record, and give me the short version, it has to do with the not anticipating the retirement. Why is it that we're doing it now and not during the normal budgetary process?
Because it provides us, again, it's a sentinel event for us. We didn't see it coming. If we were to promote an individual in Lieutenant Mick's position under the old job description, that person would be accepting the job under the old job description and may not like the new job description that would be coming in July, and it would leave us in a, potentially, perilous perch, so to speak, when it comes to fulfilling the position. So we just see it as an opportunity to fix the problem now. We need the position filled, and this just seemed the right thing to do. Again, it's a sentinel event. It doesn't happen. I can't remember when the last time it's happened, to be honest with you, but we just thought it was an opportunity to fix the problem. Granted, it is outside the budget cycle, but it's just presented that way. And we did discuss this at great length in the department with staff, and we're all unified in our thought process for this.
Pettit DiMaggio appreciates that cycle. You're okay with this as it's presented?
Chief Faulkner presented the concept of a logistics officer last year for the current budget that we're in, and we did not authorize that position as a complete new full-time position in the FY21 budget. And if we had, that would have been over $100,000 of additional cost, salary and benefits. The salary range on the job as a separate job was between $57,000 and like $78,000 plus benefits. So he was also proposing or preparing to propose it in the FY22 budget because they've identified it as a departmental need for the logistics officer. And what Chief Faulkner is proposing to do is collapse that proposed position into an existing position and upgrade it by one grade. And out of the two alternatives, I clearly would prefer this. And obviously the duties are going to be additional above what the previous employee had in that position. So for those reasons, I would support it. Normally, we would deal with these types of situations through the normal budget process and review the job description and approve it at the same time. You adopt a budget. However, there's a current vacancy, and it's an important position. Mr. Mick was very involved manager in the department. So that's why it's being brought forward now.
Appreciate your understanding, Chief Faulkner, and the willingness to have the conversation. And thank you for your explanation.
Chief, on the front, it was just showing to me that fiscal note, the estimated salary and benefits impact is just between $5,500 and $6,500. Is that in addition to the salary? Because that can't be their salary.
No, it's in addition. That's
Okay, it's
that's
in
what
addition.
the pay grade. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I just want to be sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions for Chief? Move this forward to the business meeting? Seven up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any public comments on this one item? Anybody online?
If we have any caller online that wishes to address this item, *1 on your mobile device will bring you in.
Seeing none, back to you, Mr. President. Oh, excuse me, we have one more. Office of Animal Welfare, 22 fiscal year, dog control. Didn't want to talk about that, but okay. Mr. Benamash.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A few weeks back, it was actually the 12th of January, we were visited virtually by Christina Modiochi, who's the Executive Director of the State Office of Animal Welfare. And we had a very good overview of their progress since 2016 to the current year on providing statewide animal control services. And during that presentation, toward the end, Ms. Modiochi presented two alternatives or options for the next 3 years with respect to our memorandum of understanding with the agency. And option 1 was a bare bones 2% adjustment per year to absorb some of the costs, but was not their preferred option because they do have, and they demonstrated the increased demand for services versus their personnel capacity currently, and they're seeking what was called option 2, which was the 2% inflationary adjustment per budget year plus the onboarding of 3 additional animal control officers. And when we met in committee, it was my understanding that the committee had embraced that idea of option 2. However, it wasn't formalized in the memorandum of agreement or understanding. And so last week we did receive from the Office of Animal Welfare the revised memorandum of understanding that includes the values of option 2 in it. And so what we are seeking is authorization for this memorandum of understanding to be executed with the Office of Animal Welfare. And it does have the cost to the county for each year of the MOU. And so for FY22, our costs would be $671,886, and it would adjust on a 2% basis for each year that the agreement is in effect. I'm sorry, let me back that up. The new base year price is $658,712, and it adjusts 2% per year. I was looking at the FY23 number. So it's all documented in there, and that's what was proposed when she met with us on the 12th of January. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Before I turn it over to Commissioner Sweeney, I just want to thank our director that came up and gave us that information for the next 3 years, Christina Motoyisha, that what she gave us that information and redevised the memorandum of understanding, the MOU, to what you just stated, sir. So it's a welcome relief on the county that the state's doing this, and I look forward to doing our part. Commissioner Sweeney?
Thank you, sir. So also, Mike, thanks for bringing Chris in. to describe all this. You've been at the top of the messaging, trying to make sure that the Kent County Levy Court was paying their fair share. Are you satisfied with these numbers?
Absolutely am, and I'm satisfied with the service that they're providing and also with the cooperation of the other 2 counties and the city of Wilmington on a fair distribution of the costs. Because 4 years ago, or 5 now, when the state started, we were paying an inordinate amount of the total cost. It was just not fair to Kent County, and that's been corrected in this new approach.
So they have modified their name. They're now the Office of Animal Welfare and the Department, Delaware Animal Services. But the only thing that they take care of is domestic dogs and cats, correct?
As far as I know, yes. But
I wish I had a tenth of their money. We'd be able to take care of all of our feral cat colonies in Kent County.
yeah, our contribution as our obligation under the law is dog control. So the money that we, along with Newcastle, Sussex, and the city of Wilmington, provide to this office is strictly for the dog control component of it.
Thank you, sir.
Any other commissioners? Move this forth to the business meeting. 7 up. Public comments.
If there's any public that wishes to speak on this item, press *1 and we bring you into the room. Mr. Chairman,
none.
back to you.
Back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you. We have Public Safety Committee. Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe Chief Faulkner will come speak to the vehicle procurement issue.
Thank you, Commissioner Hall. Thank you, Commissioners. As part of our current budget, we're budgeted to replace one of our emergency response vehicles for the paramedic division. Typically in the past, it's been a Suburban, and we solicit 3 bids. However, with the development of the Tahoe and its use by police agencies and other public safety agencies across the country, that vehicle is actually a little bit larger now than what it has been. And it's also under state contract, and it's also very easy to convert as opposed to the Suburbans, which have to be stripped down and pull liners and stuff like that. The Tahoes are basically a plug and play, if you'll pardon the expression. So anyway, we elected to go with the Tahoe, which just happened to be on state contract. The vendor who has that contract with Hertrick Fleet Services for the state of Delaware. Our county administrator, as well as the finance department, has approved the procurement in this way under the state contract. And we do have funds in the budget for this project. Funding will be through the state grants and aid and Kent County realty transfer tax. And there is a proposed motion at the bottom of the memorandum you have. And if you have any questions on this, be happy to answer them. I would like to say just one thing though before we move forward, because last time I advised the commissioners when I came here before that I think a question was asked, did you need any special training to fill a vehicle with propane? And I looked that up, did some research, and quite frankly, if you can use an ATM machine, you can. So no, there's not any special training for filling up with the alternative fuels such as propane. And but that question was asked. I just wanted to sneak it in before.
Any questions? President Pepper.
Chief, what did you decide to go with, 4-wheel drive or 2-wheel drive on these?
4-wheel drive.
They are 4-wheel drive?
All 4-wheel drive.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, because I know the state, they have a lot of 2-wheel drive ones, so.
Yeah. Now we can't survive on 2-wheel drive.
Right, I was hoping you were going 4-wheel drive. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other questions, Commissioner Buxton?
And maybe just clarification from the last time you were here that I don't want anyway for anyone to think that I think that we ought to start our experiments on green cars, if you want to call it that, in public safety. No. I think the technology can catch up and we can make that decision when it's appropriate. I just think that we ought to have the mindset, at least in the other areas where it's obvious, that start to make that transition. That's it. So, thanks.
Any other questions? All right, I move this forward. 7 up.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Any public comments on this issue?
If we have any callers who wish to address Levy Court on this matter, star 1 on your phone and we can bring you in. Mr. Chairman, it doesn't appear we have any callers.
Thank you, Mr. Pettitomage. Mr. President, back to you.
Thank you. Well, at this time, we'll reconvene the business meeting. There is no old business, new business, potential action items from the committee meetings. First one, Mr. Angel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Any further questions before I make the motion? Okay, I move to approve the EMS Operations Officer position description as presented.
Second. Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angels, second by Commissioner Maston for the EMS Operations Officer position. A roll call, please, Lori.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. 7 yeas reveals the EMS Operations Officer position. Description has been approved. Item number 2.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to approve Memorandum of Understanding number 22-003 as presented and authorize the County Administrator to execute said Memorandum of Understanding on behalf of Kent County Levy Court.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Sweeney. Have roll call, please.
Yes. Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. 7 yeas reveals the Office of Animal Welfare fiscal year 22 dog control cost share. MOU has been approved. Next item, Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to approve Kent County Department of Public Safety's purchase of a 2021 Chevrolet Tahoe under state contract in the amount of $37,055.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Hall, second by Commissioner Sweeney for the vehicle procurement. Roll call, please.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. The vehicle procurement has been approved. That'll be the end of the potential committee meeting action items. First item, introduction, Mr. Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. President. Introduction of Resolution 3757, a resolution establishing Stratford Village Streetlight District Number 162 for public hearing on Tuesday, February 23rd, 2021 at 7 o'clock p.m.
Thank you. Mr. Buxton, another introduction.
Thank you, Mr. President. Introduction of ordinance LC 21-01 regarding landscaping and horticultural services, stated in your packet. Number 2, introduction of ordinance LC 21-03. It's regarding an ordinance to amend the comprehensive plan map designation and the official zoning map of Kent County, Delaware. And finally, number 3, introduction of the following resolutions for public hearing on Tuesday, February 23rd, 2021 at 7 p.m. Resolution 3804, it's a resolution establishing Fork Landing West Garbage Collection District Number 183. 2 is Resolution 3805, a resolution establishing Fork Landing West Street Light District Number 183. 3, Resolution 3810, a resolution establishing Cattail Creek Garbage Collection District Number 184. And 4, Resolution 3811, a resolution establishing Cattail Creek Street Light District Number 184.
Thank you, Mr. Buxton. Mr. Angel, I need you to read the next 2 items under other business, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to go in executive session immediately following the business meeting for preliminary discussion on on-site acquisition for a public-funded capital improvement legal strategy session regarding collective bargaining or pending or potential litigation and personal matters pursuant to 29 Del Code 10004, B2, 4, and 9.
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Tanaka?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Move to go into executive session immediately following the committee meetings on February 16th, 2021 for a preliminary discussion on site acquisition for a publicly funded capital improvement legal strategy session regarding collective bargaining or pending or potential litigation and personnel matters pursuant to 29 Del Code 10004, B2, 4, and 9.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Sweeney. Roll call, please.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Any information items? Seeing none, any public comment? Any public comments?
If anyone's on the phone line and wishes to address Levy Court on any matter, please press star 1 and we can bring you into the room. No callers, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any commissioner comments? Commissioner comments? Commissioner Sweeney?
Thank you, Mr. President. This past Saturday, I had the opportunity to attend the Kent County 4-H public speaking. They held the public event. It was not a virtual event at the Delaware Ag Museum where they were able to break up the groups into 2 large rooms. They handled it very well. They only let the family members come in and sit socially distanced in the back of the room. The student was able to get in front of the room and remove their mask because they were far enough away from the judges. It was very well held, and as I've said in the past, some of these kids, as they grow up, scare me to death. They are going to be smarter than us, and they are going to be more well-informed than us, and they will be a challenge.
Good enough. Any other informational items? I just have 2. Apparently this Thursday, February 11th, we have a couple birthdays in house here. One is Miss Tanaka, and Mark, you have a birthday also? I understand it's a special birthday. One of those special years.
30?
Yeah. One of those special ones that's over 30.
Yeah, I'll be making 25 for the second time.
Oh, there you go, there you go, there you go. Well, you know, I think it'd be fitting. I mean, Commissioner Banta, President Banta, when he was here, he had us all sing happy birthday. So I think that'd be fitting tonight since we have not 1, but 2 birthdays in the house. So we can. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday
to you. Happy birthday, dear Lori and Mark. Happy birthday to you. All right.
Thank you very much.
President Pepper, she left, but it's also Susan Durham's birthday later this week.
Really? Wow. Just a week very full of birthdays. So we'll have to wish her a happy birthday too. Okay. Need a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn to executive session, which we will not be returning. Commissioner Angel and Commissioner Sweeney. We have roll call, please.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes,
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
thank you. We are adjourned.